This is the first video in the series sequencing with the Triton LE. In this series you'll learn all the features and controls and menus that are available in the Triton's LE sequencer in order to help you easily create and edit songs using your keyboard. There's a lot of information to be covered, so I'll go over these topics in a relatively fast pace, so if you need to, just back up and rewatch the video a couple times to get familiar. There's some controls and buttons that I use that are off the screen area, and mainly those are the increment and decrement keys that you'll see below the wheel to the right of the menu, and also I use the arrow keys a lot, and sometimes I use some other keys, and I'll let you know what those buttons and keys are as I get to those. The first section that we're going to cover is the sequencing menu 1.1, and this is the play/record menu. You can get to this section by clicking on the sequencer button, and this is the first screen that pops up. Also, if you're in some other screen and you want to go back to it, you would simply press the menu button on the top panel and then scroll over to the P/R menu and then press F8 to open. Now in this screen there's a few controls here, and I'm going to explain those to you now. The first one that's highlighted here on the left is the song location. Right now it shows that we're at measure 1 beat 1, and you can change this song location by using the wheel, or also you can use the increment and decrement keys. Also you can type in a number here using the numerical pad and press enter, and it'll jump to that section. Next, let's go over to the right at the Reso. Now right now default Reso is set to high, and Reso stands for resolution. And this resolution is where you set up to control what resolution the notes that you play in real time are going to snap to. If you leave it to high, they're going to play at the notes at which you play in. However, you can use the increment and decrement keys here to change any of these notes, and that will allow those notes that are played slightly off to snap into those note times. The next section over is the tempo adjust, and you'll see right now it's default set to 100. You can use any of the controls here, the increment and decrement keys. You can use the wheel or the numerical keypad to type in what tempo you want your song to be at. Next, let's scroll down to the song location and song name section. When you first start to create a song, it's going to be default to be called new song, and it's going to be in song location 0. You can change and move this, and I'll show you how to do that in the next couple minutes. Scroll down next to the RPPR checkbox. In most of the checkboxes on here, you can use the increment and decrement keys to either check or uncheck these boxes. The RPPR is a special mode that's in the Korg Triton LE that allows you, or actually RPPR stands for real-time pattern playback and record, and this allows you to assign patterns to keys that can be played to allow you to play a pattern in real time, and also you can use this RPPR feature to record patterns in real time, and I'll show you how to do that in later videos. But to enable the RPPR function, you would simply check that box. Next, let's go down to the track section here. It says T1 track 1. You can use the increment and decrement keys here to change whichever track you're playing. Now the default track for an empty song, or the default program, is going to be A0. Of course, if you load other sounds into your Triton, the A0 could possibly be another program other than A0 Big Sweep Stab. But this is where you're going to be able to change what track you're playing with and recording with. There's a couple other menus in the Triton where you're going to change what track you're controlling, but this is on the play/record page. This is where you would do this. Next, let's click on the next tab over, which is the prog 8 tab. Just press F2. And in this section, this is where you're going to set up. You can also change what programs are assigned to these tracks by using the increment and decrement keys. You can see that program A00 is assigned to track 1 again, but as we scroll up here we can shuttle through the different the different programs that are available. And the next section down, let's highlight the play buttons here. You can use the increment and decrement keys here to either allow these tracks to play or be muted, and sometimes that's handy when you're editing a certain section of a song. Next, let's go to the Prog 16 tab, press F3, and this allows you to do the same thing for tracks 9 through 16. You're going to set up or you can change the programs that are played there and also play and mute those tracks individually. Next, press on the F4 key and go to the Mix 8 tab. And in the Mixer tab menus here, you're going to change your panning, which is how much the program is to the left or to the right. You can use the increment and decrement keys here to change that. Also, you can use the wheel to dial in that amount. And the next section down is the volume or mix levels of these tracks. You can see now it's default to 127. However, you can scroll these down to a value of 0. Also, these controls, I want to mention this to you. Any of these controls that you see here, including the mute functions and the panning and the volume here, these can all be recorded in real time. Anytime that you're recording in the sequencer and you change in these values, those values will automatically be recorded and changed into the sequencer as well. So there's lots of versatility in the Triton sequencer. Next, go to the next tab over, Mix 16, and this is the same setup as the previous tab. However, this is for tracks 9 through 16. Next, click on the F6 button and go to the Preferences tab. And in the Preferences is where you're going to set up your recording preferences. The first area that I want to show you here is where it says Auto Punch In, and this is your recording setup. It's default to be at overwrite. Now when it's in overwrite, this is going to allow you to erase what you previously recorded, and it's going to write in the new notes as you do a real-time record. The next one up, just press your increment key and go to overdub. And what this recording preference is going to do, it's going to allow you to add notes to an already recorded track. For instance, if you recorded a section and then you wanted to go back and add some more notes, or you want to do a solo section over the same track, you would set that to overdub. And again, that would keep the previously recorded notes there as well without erasing those. Press the increment key again. We'll go to manual punch in. The manual punch in is sometimes used for when you're previewing a song and you want to press the record button to allow you to record at a certain area of a song while keeping another section of the song in its previous state. Also, if you press the increment key, you can go to an auto punch in, and this is going to allow you to specify a certain range of measures for your sequencer to start recording. For instance, if you had an intro set up, measures 1 through 4, and you wanted to go and start recording the next portion of the song on the same track, you might set it up to measure 5 through whatever. Here it's set up to 9 to allow the first 4 measures of the song to play, and whenever it gets to 5 it would automatically start recording, so you could go ahead and just play in there whenever you're ready. So that's a neat feature. Also, you have a loop all tracks function. If you go to loop all tracks, this is sort of a way to set up a multi-record, and it's gonna set up a range for where you want it to loop. It's default measure 1 to measure 1. Sometimes you might have that set up to like measure 2 or measure 4 and set up a short range there. This is a real handy way to progressively build a drum track. For instance, you might loop through measure 1 through 4 and only do the kick bass of the drums, and then come back and add the snare when it loops again, and then come back and add cymbals when it loops again. That's a really handy feature too. Next, let's scroll down to the metronome. The metronome is like a click track that you can use with the Triton LE. The thing about a click track is often when you're doing recording, you'll want to be able to hear what the tempo of the song is. So the notes that you play will be on time with the BPMs of the song. And right now it's set to record only. And this would allow the metronome to only be played when you're doing recording. And if you were just doing a preview of the song, if you just press stop start button on the sequencer controls area on the top right of the Triton, it would not play the metronome. If you press the increment key here, you can set up to be on record and play. And this of course would let the metronome play through as you're previewing your song, even just playing without recording. You can set it to be off as well. Let's go ahead and set that back to record only. The next section over where it says pre-count 2, just use your arrow keys and jump over there. The pre-count gives you a measure countdown before the recording kicks in. The pre-count now is set to 2, so what would happen is you'd press record, and then you'd get the click track, and then you'd press start stop, and it would do a countdown of 2 measures before the sequencer starts recording. So that's handy when you don't have any notes or drums or anything played in there. You want to kind of get a preview of the tempo of the song, and also kind of have a hands-free ready way to automatically start recording after that pre-count. Next, scroll over to the level. The level pertains to the metronome as well. You can adjust the volume or relative volume of the metronome against the rest of the tracks here. Right now it's set to be a maximum level of 127. However, you can dial this all the way down to 0. The next section over is the bus. You can route the metronome out different outputs of the Triton on the back panel. For instance, you have the individuals out 1 and 2, and you have the left and right outs. It's default to be left and right out, meaning it's going to send out your main output levels of the Triton. But you can also change this value by pressing the increment and decrement keys. And sometimes you might route the metronome out a different output if you were going to do some recording with a live drummer or something like that, because this is handy for the drummer to be able to hear the click track of the tempo of the Triton as well if you were doing some syncopated recording. Next, click on the Utilities tab, which is the F8 command here. Now on the F8 you have a series of commands. I'm going to start on the top one here, memory status. Your memory status refers to the internal memory in the Triton. If we press OK here, your sequencer can hold it's several thousand notes that can be held here. Right now it shows that 99% of the memory is free. Of course, we don't have a song loaded into the Triton now, so all of that memory is available. Press the F7 key to exit, and then press the F8 key again to go to these series of utility commands. And scroll down to the select solo track. This command's pretty obvious. This is going to allow the selected track that you're on to be soloed, and this is sometimes handy if you're trying to solo or preview a certain range or certain sound that you're working on. You want to be able to drop out all the other tracks so you can pay attention to this one selected track. Next, scroll down to the rename song section and press OK. And on this command, you've got a command where it says name F5 under the F5 button. And this is where you would go in. You have a list of alphanumerical characters, and you can scroll to any of these here and change the name of your song. You can customize this to be any name that you want there. We'll go ahead and press cancel out of this. And when you rename your song, just press OK. I'm going to cancel out of this, however. Next, click on the F8 command key again and scroll down to the delete song command. The delete song is going to allow you to erase, or it's going to take a song out of the Triton's internal memory. If you have a song that you loaded from a disk or a CD-ROM, you're going to notice that the song is still there. It's saved in your media or in your smart media card. This is simply just going to delete the song out of the Triton's internal sequencer. Sometimes this is handy if you're managing songs, or if you're working on a song, you have duplicate copies and you want to just go ahead and erase one that you're not using anymore. Next, scroll down to the copy from song command and press OK. The copy from song command is used for when you're creating a new song and you might have another song that has a setup that you like. A setup meaning you would have your tracks pre-selected, you would have your settings pre-selected, mixer settings, any insert effects or master effects. You can copy all that information from another song into another song location, and it would copy into that current song location that you're in, which is song 000. Let's go ahead and cancel out of this and go to the F8 utility again and scroll the next one down, copy from combi, and press OK. The copy from combi or combination command is used for when you want to copy the settings that are in a combination into your sequencer. Now, a combination can consist up to 8 tracks, and you can copy that combi into tracks 1 through 8, or you can copy those into tracks 9 through 16. You also can scroll up here and of course manually dial in which combination you want to copy from. And there's also a checkbox here for with effects. You can press the increment and decrement keys to select that. Now, most of the time combis will have certain insert and master effects applied to them. So if you want the combi to sound the same, you would check that box. Otherwise, a lot of combis can end up sounding somewhat thin, or they might even seem like it's a lower volume if you just copied a combi into the sequencer without checking that with effects checkbox. Next, scroll down to the auto adjust ARP for multi-record. You would check this box for an instance of where you're copying a combi that uses an arpeggio that you like. You would make sure and check this box, and it would allow the multi-record function to work with your arpeggiator, or automatically set up these controls for where if you press record, it would automatically allow you to record these arpeggiator notes into the sequencer without having to go in and manually set up the adjustments in the arpeggiator mode and in your record preferences mode. So go ahead and press cancel out of this and press F8 for utility again, and next we'll scroll over to the load template song command and press OK. The Triton comes with 15 factory preset template songs, and you can see that there's different genres here, 1 through 15. A template song is not really a song. It doesn't have any notes in it. These templates are more or less just programs that are selected for certain tracks, also certain track settings. You also have your insert and master effects that are saved with a song template. You can also create your own template songs, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. The next command down here where it says copy pattern to track 2 is you can associate patterns with a template, and now I'll allow these patterns to be saved, of course, with that template. And when you select copy pattern to track as well, this will allow those patterns to be automatically inserted into the song that you're working with, so you can get a preview of of what some of those patterns are without having to manually go to the pattern section or the track edit section and selecting those patterns and manually inserting those. So go ahead and press cancel to exit out of this. Press the F8 key again to go to the utility and scroll down. There's a command called save template song. Now anytime that you set up your own song template, this again is going to be the programs and settings and insert and master effects. You can actually create your own template, and those will be saved into internal memory. If we press OK here, you can dial into what location you want those to be saved to, and then press OK, and those will be saved. So press cancel. Now press F8 and go to utility again. Notice there's a fast forward and rewind speed. These correlate to the sequencer controls on the top right hand portion of the Triton where it says rewind and fast forward. If we press OK here, you'll notice that the speed is set to 2. If we toggle over to it, we can increase that up to 4, and that's going to multiply your tempo speed by 4. I normally leave this to 2. Those fast forward and rewind keys are used for when you're just quickly fast forwarding or scrolling back through the song. You want to manually kind of hear what the notes are being played at in order to help yourself get to a certain location in a song. You can also set to ignore the tempo, and that would just set up the speeds to ignore that tempo, and just press cancel. Next we'll go to the F8 utility command again and scroll down to set location and press OK. The set location command is going to allow you to set up a location in your song at which the locate button, which is at the top right hand portion in the sequencer control section of the Triton, it's going to set up a place and time which that locate button will jump to when you press it. Right now it's default to be measure 1 beat 1. However, you may set up another location using this command. For instance, if you were working on a certain section of a song where a solo was, or a bridge that you were working on, that you repeatedly had to go back to the same section in the middle of a song somewhere, rather than going to the song location up here at the top left and changing it there, you could just quickly set up a location with that locate button and just jump to it. Go ahead and press cancel and press the F8 key utility and scroll down to the GM initialize. When you press OK here, the GM initialize stands for General MIDI initialize, and this is going to allow General MIDI songs that you load into the sequencer to automatically be set up to play General MIDI programs or voices rather than the programs that are in bank A through D. So we can go ahead and cancel out of these. And that pretty much covers the sequencer 1.1 page play/record.